One Zambia, one nation. This is ZNBC main news. I'm Chuanza Nachalwe, and on sign language is Loveness Simbe. The headlines tonight. President Edgar Lungu is tomorrow expected in Malabo, Equatorial Guinea, for a two-day Committee of 10 summit. Government acquires a $50 million loan from the African Development Bank to support the aquaculture subsector in the country. Minister of Transport and Communications Brian Mushimba says government has engaged one of Israel's top cybersecurity experts to improve cybersecurity in Zambia. And in sports, the Zambia Under-20 national team beats La Palmas B 4-0 in a practice match held in Spain. And now the news in detail. President Edgar Lungu is tomorrow expected to travel to Malabo, Equatorial Guinea, for a two-day Committee of 10 summit. Committee of 10 is a group of states that have been pushing for Africa's permanent seat on the UN Security Council. Minister of Foreign Affairs Harry Kalaba confirmed the development to journalists during a media briefing in Lusaka today. Mr. Kalaba says the Committee of 10 is a strategic committee and Zambia's position is meritorious due to her peace and security credentials. Meanwhile, 3 consuls general from Angola, Senegal and Spain have presented their credentials to Mr. Kalaba. The consul generals are Angola's Antonio Alberto, Senegalese Bubu Sengote and Spanish Honorary Consul Federica Giosino Vidali. Mr. Kalaba called on the 3 to boost economic ties with Zambia and the states.
The Committee of 10 is a committee that has been set up by the African Union. It's a committee that has been spearheading the process of Africa realizing its space on the UN Security Council. Africa does not have a place, a permanent place at the Security Council of the United Nations, and so Zambia together with Namibia are representing this region, the southern region. So President Lungu will be traveling tomorrow to attend this very important meeting, which commences on the 17th and ends on the 18th. The President is expected to return home immediately after the summit is closed. Now, the C10 is a very strategic committee that Zambia is in. You will realize that Zambia as a country has always advocated issues of peace and security. And so, meritoriously so, Zambia is on that committee.
Special Assistant to the President for Press and Public Relations, Amos Chanda, says Zambia is strengthening relations with countries such as India, which have common aspirations at both bilateral and multilateral levels. Mr. Chanda says under the current framework of the Africa-India Summit, Zambia has a special place, adding that the country wants to increase its engagement. And Zambia's High Commissioner to India, Judith Kabijimpanga, says Indian investment stands in excess of $3 billion. Mrs. Kabijimpanga says the Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi has indicated that his country wants to work with African countries, especially Zambia, which has been a partner politically and economically from the Kaunda and Indira Gandhi era.
Zambia's geopolitical interest is to cooperate with countries with whom the country shares aspirations at both bilateral and multilateral platforms. In that respect, Zambia and India have enjoyed a long history of unbroken cooperation, both political and economical. And under the current framework of the India-Africa Summit, Zambia has a special place and it wants to increase its engagement.
Prime Minister Modi has also emphasized that he needs to create a bond with Africa, and Zambia is one of the preferred destinations because Zambia is peaceful. Zambia has been a good friend from a long time, and we are not leaving any stone unturned.
Government has acquired a $50 million United States loan from the African Development Bank ADB to support the aquaculture subsector in the country. Minister of Livestock Michael Katambo says about 12,000 fish farmers and entrepreneurs are expected to benefit from the Zambia Aquaculture Enterprise Development Project ZAEDP. He says 50% of the estimated number are women and youths. Mr. Katambo says the project will enable Zambia to export fish to neighboring countries and will curb the natural demand of fish in the market. The minister was speaking in an interview with ZNBC in Lusaka.
We've just finalized a loan with the Ministry of Finance and the African Development Bank. The loan, which is under Zambia Aquaculture Enterprise Development Project. This loan will be of a period of 5 years, which will start, which was supposed to be started by February 2017 to February 2022. The total project sum is about 50.89 million from the African Development Bank, and of which the government of Zambia has done a contribution of about 5.49 million, which is about 10.8%. As you know, Zambia is endowed with quite natural water resources and offers significant opportunities to supply fish to meet the national demand of fish in the country. And as you are aware, we have a deficit of fish, about 185 metric tons, which we need to keep.
Minister of Transport and Communications Brian Mushimba says government has engaged one of Israel's top cybersecurity experts to improve cybersecurity in Zambia. Mr. Mushimba says Zambia wants to equip itself against current international cyber attacks that have affected other countries. The minister was speaking when Israel's cybersecurity chief strategy officer Eli Ben-Meir called on him at his office this morning, and Mr. Ben-Meir says international cyber attacks have become common and that Zambia has taken a right move to focus on issues of cyber security. He says many countries in the western part of the continent have experienced cyber attacks which have led to disruption of service delivery.
We've done some groundworks in terms of cybersecurity. We have institutions and standards and procedures that govern this space so far, except I think where I felt we could improve upon is this helicopter view of cybersecurity for the country, because we have institutions and each institution has their own security measures that they put up. You know, the firewalls, the password protection, the antivirus, and all those things. You know, many institutions have those, and they've largely done a very good job up to now. But as we move forward, I wanted for us to step back and understand how this space is going to be moving forward.
More than 100 countries all over the world just puts more focus on what you just said about the importance of cyber, and most of these attacks were against ministry entities, official governmental entities, hospitals, offices, and probably today we'll hear a bit about a lot of more attacks because people came back from the weekend. You know, Sunday a lot of them didn't work, so they're going to come this morning to the offices, and we see that more offices and governmental offices all over the world were attacked.
Meanwhile, a computer malware that had spread across 150 countries appears to be slowing down, with few reports of fresh attacks in Asia and Europe today. However, staff beginning the working week have been told to be careful. The WannaCry ransomware started taking over files on Friday, demanding $300 to restore access. Hundreds of thousands of computers have been affected so far, with computer giant Microsoft saying the attack should serve as a wake-up call. Minister of Energy David Mabumba says mining companies have not been spared from the new ZESCO electricity tariffs. Mr. Mabumba was responding to concerns raised by stakeholders during the Northwestern Province Energy Indaba in Solwezi. We have more details in this report.
A project meant to connect the entire Northwestern Province to the national grid. Despite being home to Zambia's major mining companies, much of Northwestern Province is not connected to the national grid. So far, under this project, power has so far been taken to Mufumbwe, Zambezi, Mwinilunga and Ikeleng. This is in a bid to boost economic activities in this part of the country.
If you look at that, I think it was obvious a concern. And if you look at Northwestern Province, given the mining, companies that have established base here, and those that would have wanted to establish base here, I think from ZESCO point of view, we are not serving them better. So when you look at this project from where it started, all the way from Mwinilunga, Mufumbwe, Kawompo now, Zambezi, and I'm reliably informed that it has already reached Chavuma, but they haven't energized, they haven't switched on in Chavuma. So in terms of the progress, I think the contractor has done quite a recommendable job. And from the indication is that by end of July, the entire scope of the project will have been completed.
ZESCO is also rehabilitating the Kabompo hydropower station to increase generation and supply in Northwestern Province.
We shall extend power to most of our rural communities here in Northwestern Province. The government institutions, talk about the rural health centers, the schools, they will be powered. The site manager shared that the substations, the transformation is from 132 to 33 to 11 kV. The 11 kV is chiefly servicing the existing customers. The 33 kV lines we are going to extend into the people who have never had power. So power will be extended to that.
The investments being recorded in the energy sector in Northwestern Province has cheered the local leadership.
People should now know that the president means well. So it's up to us people in the province to move forward with the PF government and the leadership of the president. It has a lot of benefits. Obviously, as we have been told by experts, banks will come. We are moving in the right direction. So this is our country and our responsibility. No one is going to develop this province for us, let alone the country. It's vested in us Zambians.
The residents have commended government for the massive investments being recorded in the energy sector in Northwestern Province to boost economic activities. Lillian Kalaba, ZNBC News, Kabompo.
Government says it will give priority in awarding contracts of infrastructure projects to local contractors as a way of creating jobs and building their capacities. Chief Government Spokesperson Kampamba Mlenga says government is, however, taken aback that some of the contractors are not performing as expected. She was speaking when she commissioned 3 projects, among them 2 schools and a bridge that have been built using Constituency Development Funds, CDF. Details in this report.
And better bridge for the people for Chembe.
Wow. It has been a busy day for Kalushi Member of Parliament, Kampamba Mulenga. She has commissioned 3 projects in her constituency. The projects worth over 1 million kwacha include a bridge and 2 schools. These were built using resources from the Constituency Development Fund, CDF. Ms. Mulenga, who is also Information and Broadcasting Services Minister, said government is determined to take development to all corners of the country. But the Information Minister is saddened. Some local contractors engaged by government to undertake the projects are not doing a good job.
My appeal is that we want to empower our local community in terms of these entrepreneurs. When you hear the address by His Excellency the President, he wants to empower the SMEs. And these are the SMEs, but they have to prove their worth, that they are capable. Just like this contractor. Normally what happens, there's been a complaint that no jobs are given to the Chinese. It is not true. We are left with no option but give it to the Chinese. If we have capable contractors that are committed to ensuring that they do works that are of great standard, not substandard works. Before the school is commissioned, it's submerging or the windows are broken. It brings much to be desired because this is not government's money. It is these people's money, and we don't want to bring them substandard infrastructure.
The Kalurushi MP has assured residents in her constituency that she will deliver on her campaign promises.
We are committed to ensuring that the campaign promises, all the campaign promises, our people were crying for better schools, better health, better roads, better infrastructure. And this is just a reaffirmation of how committed we are with her worship the mayor, the district commissioner, and our valuable councillors, and of course the community. So we are committed to ensuring that we bring the desired development to members of our constituency in no time.
Kalurushi Mayor Rashida Mulenga is happy with the way the CDF funds are being used.
I am happy that today we are witnessing an example of prudent utilization of Constituency Development Fund in the district. I wish to appeal to the community of Mwambashi, Chembe and Musakashi to guard this infrastructure jealously. To sincerely thank the area member of parliament for the leadership that she has continued to provide to ensure that the CDF funds are utilized on projects that are intended to benefit the whole community of Kalurushi district.
The central government in the district, we are very, very grateful to the council for the job which they are doing. The council are supervising these projects under your office, Honorable Minister, and as members of Kalurushi, we are really grateful to the government of Mr. Ed Kachagwarungu for what they are giving us.
Kalurushi residents are happy that government is slowly taking development to the area.
This ward has been a neglect since time immemorial. Now I'm happy that this minister and the KCM, Kalurushi Municipal Council, in collaboration, they've done it. They've broken the system that was obstructing development in this locality.
Mishek Moyo, ZNBC News in Kalurushi.
And Ms. Mulenga says negotiations for improved conditions of service for civil servants have not collapsed. The minister says the talks will resume soon. She has reaffirmed government's commitment to motivating civil servants through better salaries and other conditions. Ms. Mulenga says the delayed talks should not be construed for a wage freeze. She was reacting to sentiments by the Zambia Congress of Trade Unions President Nkole Chimba, who has expressed regret that government has not yet concluded the 2017-2018 negotiations for improved conditions of service for civil servants. Ms. Mulenga has since advised civil servants to remain calm as government holds talks with their unions. Chief Kalasa Lukangaba of the Ushi people of Mansa district has commended President Edgar Lungu for his commitment to maintaining peace and unity in the country. Chief Lukangaba says it is important for the country to remain peaceful so that development can be enhanced. The traditional leader says it is important for Zambians to accept that President Lungu was chosen by Zambians until 2021 when the country country goals for elections. He was speaking when Minister of Health Chitalu Chilufya called on him at his palace. The traditional leader also called on government to speed up construction works on the various projects around the country. And Dr. Chilufya says it is important for traditional leaders to continue giving guidance and encouraging Zambians to remain peaceful and united. He says President Lungu was duly elected in the 2016 general elections and should be given the opportunity to work for Zambians.
Obuteko bwena buletwalirira okukitana empisi mukyalo kyesu pakuti tenjekala bwino eryo nakabiri n'obuyantanshi bwine bukonka apali omutendo apashiri omutendo obuyantanshi tetuboneke nangu fye twinga tukutashani tete tukwata obuyantanshi buli bwonse pamtu omutendo tapali kanshi pamutendo oyo bale ekitamenteni bakateka wesu kupitira mu maka yakwalesa pamute maka yakwalesa ule batungulula uwo bachimbako okuti abe entungulushi yabo chena echa totela sana icho tule balombera na ifwebe ne pulileso okuti lesa ingala basunga no kubalondera kwa mano eno no mutima ushiri wa chilandushi kubale bachusha
ande totela pautungulushi mulelanga kuchalo chonse chalo pakuti tukwato byantashi tuleta shakana besa pakuti kansho kutira bonse tusomino kutira ubuteko bwalisalwa kabiri kusala kumbulu 2021 amashu yakalamba kana besa tulipasho kutotela pantu emashu yamo alefai kwa kutichalo chonse chufe kutuikatani wino kutira bonse tuchindike akateka balipo tuwasalire nfwebene kabiri tuwerekeshe kufya 2021 kalikano kashita tuwerekeshe pakubombera abantu.
You're watching the main news on ZNBC. We take our first commercial break. We'll be right back with more news. Keep watching. We continue with the rest of the news. Minister of Tourism and Art Charles Banda has congratulated Georgian ambassador to Spain, Zurab Polalis-Kamvili, for his election as nominee for the post of United Nations World Tourism Organization UNWTO Secretary General. Mr. Polalis-Kamvili, who is also permanent representative to UNWTO, emerged winner with 18 votes against 15 votes for the Zimbabwean Minister of Tourism and Hospitality Industry, Walter Nzembi, during the election of the just ended 105th elective council session. Meanwhile, Mr. Banda has described his recent working visit to Madrid as fruitful. He says Zambia will continue to remain relevant to the business of the UNWTO.
Our outing to Madrid in Spain was very, very successful, and that whilst in Spain, quite a lot of issues were tackled at the meeting there, the Executive Council meeting, which was held in Madrid. Among the key issues that we traveled for were the elections for the new Secretary General of the UNWTO. We had 5 candidates, and Africa was also featuring. We had Dr. Walter Nzembi from Zimbabwe, who ended up being the runner-up. He took second position to our colleague from Georgia, the Georgian ambassador to the UNWTO, who got the majority of the votes for the position of the Secretary General of the UNWTO. He is currently the nominee, and confirmation will be done by the General Assembly, which will be held in September in Chengdu, China.
Zambia has been identified as one of the fastest growing countries in terms of tourism on the African continent. South African Tourism Association has described Zambia as the country with great potential in tourism. South African Tourism Association Regional Director Evelyn Mahlaba says Zambia can attract tourists from all over the world through its rich culture and various tourist destinations. Msenge Mlimba reports from Durban, South Africa, that Ms. Mahlaba has, however, urged the Zambian government to invest more in the tourism sector. Mahlaba was speaking when the pre-launch media dinner ahead of the 4-day South Africa's International Tourism Indaba this week. Over 40 countries are expected to exhibit their tourism potential at this year's Tourism Indaba. The Patriotic Front PF have dismissed an article published online by a professor from Birmingham University, Nick Cheeseman, suggesting that Zambia has fallen from grace under the leadership of President Edgar Lungu. PF Deputy Secretary General Mumbi Piri says Professor Cheeseman knows little about Zambia, its laws and governance systems. Ms. Piri adds that Professor Cheeseman is among those who seek to misinform the world that Zambia is a country on fire, yet it is a nation which is at peace. She says President Lungu's good governance record remains solid to this day. The Deputy Secretary General was speaking during a media briefing in Lusaka.
We have our good name to protect. In this regard, Patriotic Front takes great exception to the article written by someone who has identified himself as Nick Cheeseman, a so-called professor of democracy at Birmingham University and published by the conventional.com and some local newspaper in Zambia. In this misleading article, he writes about Zambia as having fallen from the grace under President Edgar Lungu. We know for a fact that Cheeseman only knows Zambia from looking at the world map. He knows very little about our country, our laws, our governance system. Cheeseman is nothing but an attention-seeking professor who thinks he can lecture us about democracy.
And the Patriotic Front PF leadership has commended its members for exhibiting maturity and respecting the right of opposition leaders to attend the burial of late freedom fighter Salome Kapwepwe. PF Deputy Spokesperson Frank Walia has told ZNBC News in an interview that the party is pleased with all the people who attended the funeral and burial of Mrs. Kapwepwe for the dignified manner in which they mourned her. The PF Deputy Spokesperson has also thanked President Edgar Lungu for according the late Salome Kapwepwe 3 days of national mourning. Meanwhile, Mr. Walia has urged the leader of Party for National Unity, PNU, Hivi Hamdudu, to be different from other opposition political leaders. He says Mr. Hamdudu should be exemplary and reject violence.
We want to commend our cadres and all our sympathizers that attended the funeral of Mama Salome Kapwepwe for respecting the presence of opposition leaders, including the UPND lawmaker for Mazabuka Central, Honorable Gary Nkombo. There was no violence. They respected their presence as mourners. But when such a funeral happens in a UPND stronghold, what we see is that our members are harassed, they are attacked, and usually run for their lives. Zambians will remember that at the burial of Lusaka businessman Reeves Malambo, our member, Mr. Paul Monga, who is a member of the Central Committee, and Brian Apunda were beaten in full view of UPND senior leaders, including Mr. Againde Ichilema.
A Kitwe-based clergyman says he is in support of government's move to bring sanity to churches operating in Zambia. Living Water Global Church Bishop Bernard Nywaka says the move by government to scrutinize people masquerading as prophets should be seen as a move aimed at should not be seen as a move aimed at banning some churches. Bishop Nywaka says government is concerned with the welfare of many innocent Zambians who are losing colossal sums of money to false prophets. He says it is unfortunate that some people calling themselves men of God have decided to lash out at government on a move that is aimed at protecting the lives of Zambians. And Bishop Nywaka has described as unfortunate attacks singled out at Bishop Joe Imakando and Bishop Joshua Banda as the ones influencing the decision by government to scrutinize the churches. Bishop Nywaka says Bishop Imakando and Bishop Banda are credible men of God who have been preaching the word of God for many years.
We are standing together with the government on this aspect, especially that the Honorable Minister has been able to consult the three mother bodies. And in fact, there has been a cry for a very, very, very long time. And people masquerading as servants of God, as prophets, and the ignorant and the novice, and so they have been taken advantage of. And eventually what is affected, it is the name of Christ and Christians. So we definitely support the stand of the government that it has taken.
We go for another break. The news continues. Just stay with us. The ZNBC main news continues. The Lusaka Magistrate Court has acquitted UPND leader Hakainde Hichilema on charges of using insulting language. Magistrate Greenwell Malumani made the ruling today when the matter came up for judgment after Mr. Hichilema was found with a case to answer last Thursday. Delivering judgment, Magistrate Malumani said the prosecution had failed to prove their case beyond any reasonable doubt. He also explained that apart from not bringing independent witnesses who are not police officers, witnesses for the prosecution were giving different versions of the same story. Magistrate Malumani added that the prosecution team tried its best, but witnesses destroyed their case. He also said the arresting officer in this matter was also a complainant, making it hard for the court to believe if he was going to be impartial in the matter. Meanwhile, the matter in which Mr. Hichilema is accused of treason with 5 others has been adjourned to May 22nd, 2017. On this date, Lusaka Magistrate David Simsamba will make ruling whether to commit the matter to the High Court or not. He will also deliver another ruling whether to refer the matter to the High Court for constitutional determination. The Ministry of National Development and Planning says a number of climate-resilient interventions are being carried out in the Kafue and Barotse sub-basins. Ministry Public Relations Officer Sikavele Chikuba says this follows a pilot project carried out in the area. Our staffer Patricia Banda has more in this report.
Cassava is one of the crops grown in Lunga district of Luapula province. However, not even cassava can stand the effects of floods. Changes in the climate pattern is causing frequent floods which threaten the livelihoods of people in Lunga. Climate change mitigation specialist Deuteronomy Kasaro from the Ministry of National Development Planning led a team of experts from various ministries to assess the effects of climate change in Lunga.
For us to deal with climate change, our thinking should not be like pushed into the corner to think about climate change. But I think it will help us if we can think about the livelihoods of people.
But flooding has also resulted in water channels used as trade routes between Chilubi Island and Lunga being overrun by weeds. Minister of National Development Planning Lucky Mulusa and other government officials recently visited Lunga district.
Our area during the rain season is inundated. There's so much water around here, not just in the channels, but even just on the bare surfaces of land. And the climate change program have been informed that they, from time to time, might find interventions on how to deal with the inundation of the area.
This team later visited Sanfia district. District Commissioner Nason Bwalia and the district planning team revealed that the district has not been spared by the effects of climate change.
Sanfia district is being faced with some storms and winds, heavy winds actually.
The findings and the recommendations proposed by this interministerial team will be submitted to Cabinet Office before intervention programs can be executed to make life easy for these districts in the face of climate change. Patricia Banda, ZNBC News, Luapula Province.
We take our last set of commercials. We have sports news coming up. To stay with us. ZNBC News continues. In sports news, the Zambia under-20 national team has beaten Las Palmas B 4-0 in a practice match held in Spain. The game against the Spanish club concludes the Africa Junior Champions training camp in Spain ahead of the 2017 FIFA Under-20 World Cup, which kicks off this weekend in South Korea. While in Spain, the Junior Chipolo have played 3 practice matches, beating FC Tenerife 3-0 before drawing 2-0 against Marino and thrashing of Las Palmas B by 4-0. The African champions are tomorrow expected to fly to South Korea, where the team will play its first match on Sunday, May 21st, against Portugal at the Jeju World Cup Stadium. The game kicks off at 07 hours Zambian time. Zambia under-20 is in Group C and will face Portugal, Costa Rica and Iran, with the matches being broadcast live by pay television channel SuperSport. Coach Benston Chambeshi has all the players that he has summoned ahead of the FIFA World Cup. To end the news, here is a reminder of our headlines. President Edgar Lungu is tomorrow expected in Malabo, Equatorial Guinea, for a 2-day Committee of 10 summit. Government acquires a $50 million loan from the African Development Bank to support the aquaculture subsector in the country. Minister of Transport and Communications Brian Mushimba says government has engaged one of Israel's top cybersecurity experts to improve cybersecurity in Zambia. And in sports, the Zambia under-20 national team beats Las Palmas B 4-0 in a practice match held in Spain. Our next news bulletin is at 22 hours. My name is Chiwanza Nachalwe, and on sign language is Loveness Simbe. Thank you for watching. Good night.